All right, 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show along with Elijah Campbell, the coach. I'm Jay Phillips. Glad to have you here with us. Lots to get to on today's program as we continue discussing the state of affairs around Carolina baseball. Our good friend David Cloninger on the beat for the Post and Courier will join us coming up bottom of the hour. Gamecocks back at it tonight against Charleston Southern. 6:15 airtime, 6:30 first pitch. Jarvis Evans back on the hill for the Gamecocks, who dropped 2 of 3 against Kentucky. And again, now short of just a miracle run to the finish of the regular season and something happening to him good in Hoover, you have to just be real about where they are. And where they are is next to last in the overall standings. And in a lot of people's minds, my own included, really just maybe in the worst shape of any program in the conference, simply because whether it's true or not, Elijah Campbell, I don't know. I look at it from my own perspective when I say these kind of things, but I just don't believe, and I'm not dissing them, I just don't think Missouri, just be blunt, I don't think they care as much. They don't. Yeah, I just don't think they do.
I'll take it a step further. I will diss them.
Okay, thanks.
Effort has to be a thing at some point.
And look, again, it's just not ever been their thing. I mean, a few flashes here or there, I get it.
They did have Max Scherzer at one point in time.
But certainly there is not a level of investment, both financial and emotional, into that program the way there is at almost every other school, and certainly not at the school we cover the most. And so what must happen next? Is it all about the players? I don't know. So we'll see.
Well, it's going to be maybe the most pivotal off seasons in the history of this program in terms of building a roster.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Since the advent of the transfer portal and since the introduction of over the counter, or it's over the table, money given to players, where it's a lot more transparent now where you're spending your money. Ever since that happened, have we had an off season in Carolina baseball where it became more vital to completely revamp the roster in a dramatic way after a really bad season?
I don't, and certainly in the time frame you set up, no. And going back, I mean, man, you may have to go back to when Ray Tanner came into this program for the very first time out of NC State. When you kind of looked then and said, and let's face it, the Southeastern Conference of 30 years ago was good at baseball. LSU and Georgia had recently won titles. I think Tennessee went to the World Series that year, but that's because they had one of the great players in the history of the sport, at least in college, and Todd Helton. And yet it pales in comparison to where it is today in terms of strength of the league from top to bottom.
And then add Texas.
And add I mean,
always been
even
really
if
good.
you just added Oklahoma, who's been to a few World Series, but when you add arguably the most premier program in the history of the sport, certainly in the more modern era, Southern California had their day, back under Coach Dato, in the 70s. But it's kind of hard to believe that it got to where it is. And very little tells you there's any turnaround now. Again, as I just told Terry and Tyler, and you and I talked about it yesterday, season on the brink at this point. A lot of people eye roll and say, Jay, come on, man. They've been there for a month at least, if not longer. And I don't disagree with you if you feel that way. The point I'm making is on a more literal sense here. If the conventional wisdom of 13 and 17 is good enough to get you a 3 seed somewhere in this country, then you got to go 8 and 1.
I think you almost have to sweep out in the SEC to at least have a chance to where you don't have to maybe win the entire SEC tournament.
I mean,
you'd still have to make a run in Hoover regardless.
Listen, I look, nothing is impossible. All right, that's why you play. But I mean, I think we could all spin Bill's wheel of humiliation down here, and just do all of them if Carolina wins the SEC baseball tournament as constructed.
If they win the SEC baseball tournament, I'm definitely going to spin that wheel. I'll volunteer myself for it.
Yeah, and that's fair. But no, seriously, it's gotten It's gotten to be a hard watch. And on that note, there's not a lot of people watching. It used to be that, like, people would wrestle out in the street to get tickets for Carolina, Florida. And now you'll be able to walk up this weekend. So, I mean, that just tells you a lot, man. That's the truth of it all. Portal news for basketball and football. We'll get into some of that. And I don't want to be, like, salacious about it or anything, but what is going on in Chapel Hill? And what I mean by that is, what is this Bill Belichick's girlfriend thing? Because it's only gotten weirder today. If you saw the CBS Sunday morning thing and you're thinking, well, is that what y'all are talking about? Yeah, to some degree.
It's the genesis of it.
But now, and this young lady, Jordan, I forget her last name.
Hudson.
Thank you.
I hate that I know this. Genuinely
has put out an Instagram post of an email that Coach Belichick sent out a couple of weeks ago about how he, from his own point of view, wanted to promote his book and how he knew that certain things in it would grab attention first. But she's attached the title of a Taylor Swift song to it and all kinds. But you know, and apparently with the CBS thing, like, we only heard one audio clip of her saying we're not going to talk about that, but apparently there were multiple interruptions,
especially when it came to him talking about football.
Right.
Like, TMZ reported that they watched the entire, like, unedited interview, and a couple times where Bill Belichick was talking strictly about football, nothing personal related.
Yeah.
She interjected to correct him.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening there, but to Bubba Cunningham and the crew in the athletics department up that way, good luck.
This is the monster you created. You were Frankenstein, and you did this.
Yeah.
Congratulations. This is your monster.
So we'll see how that one turns out. Speaking of things up that way, the ACC maybe looking at some changes to basketball, so we'll touch on those things for you, too. And, again, David coming up in a bit. Apparently there will be another edition later in the program of Jay or Nay.
Yeah.
Do I know what this one's about yet?
It's more general sports questions.
Okay.
A lot of NBA.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of a hockey one to squeeze in there for you at the end. I want to keep a Jay Phillips hockey record. And we can see if you going in blind with hockey picks is still equivalent to what we did against the spread in football this year. Sometimes the less you know, the better.
Sure.
Sometimes if you just pick on vibes.
I mean, listen, man, I know who the teams are. That's this year. I know what Alex Ovechkin's been doing.
Yeah, scoring a lot of goals.
Yeah, and I know
he's been doing that for 20 years.
I know they had a big win the other day. But that's about it. I also know who didn't win yesterday, and that's the Miami Heat. Did they know they were in the playoffs?
Ooh. Cancun on 3.
I mean, that's gross.
You know what? I want to do what Charles Barkley did to the New Orleans Pelicans last year. Instead of sending them to Cancun, we're sending them to Galveston. That's a performance that's worthy of sending them to Galveston. All that dirty water.
I mean, if y'all didn't see, they lost by, what, 55?
55. Yeah, a 55-point loss.
Like, as I told you, like, Washington shouldn't lose to Boston by 55 in the regular season. But nobody should lose to anybody else in the playoffs like that. And this is the second 50-plus point deficit in the playoffs this year. Memphis lost by 51 to OKC, right?
In game 1. Got completely trounced.
I mean, hey, seriously, you've got to just try to lose by 50.
Or maybe not try.
Well, yeah. I mean, if the Miami Heat, let me back it up. If the South Carolina Gamecocks played the Cleveland Cavaliers, should I expect them to lose by 55?
Yes.
If the Duke Blue Devils played the Cleveland Cavaliers, should I expect them to lose by 55?
Maybe not 55. 45
I know I should
would be a
expect
little
them
more,
to
yeah,
lose.
45 maybe
Sure.
more accurate.
That just seems so outlandish.
Especially for an Eric Spoelstra coach basketball team,
Yeah.
or a team or organization that is run by the Pat Riley.
Yeah.
The camera shots to him last night when he's watching the game almost felt sinister.
I mean, what's that indicative of? That's my thing. Has like Spoles just lost the room, or they really do want to get out of because
I think there was a lot of quitting. They got punched in the mouth early and they quit.
That's kind of rough, man.
And then you compound quitting with playing against a team that has a legitimate chance to win the NBA title. Not a great combination.
Yeah.
To do that at home, too, that's another thing. It's one thing to maybe lose 55 on the road. Like, Memphis lost by 50-plus to Oklahoma City on the road. Like, okay, that's embarrassing, and that's laughable. Good thing they fired their head coach, right? So they don't do something embarrassing like lose by 50 on the road in a playoff game. But Miami did this at home, which, of course, most Miami Heat games are about a quarter full in that arena until about the third quarter anyway. So, I mean, maybe enough people showed up to the game and they see they're already down 30-8 and said, okay, well, you know what? We'll just hang out in the concourse and do whatever it is that Heat fans do at arenas.
Well, we'll get into some more NBA stuff for you, too, as the playoffs roll on, and a little bit more. I know we don't want to talk too much about it, but the Shedeur situation. But we'll come back on the other side. Gamecock news for you, both men's basketball and football portal transfers into those programs. And I am even more nervous now as an Arsenal fan because they are playing in the semifinal of the Champions League, game 1 of 2. This one's in London. Next week will be in Paris. They're playing PSG, Paris Saint-Germain. And Arsenal are already losing inside of 10 minutes, 1-0.
Already?
Yeah.
Who scored for PSG?
I don't know. Somebody.
Someone did.
And Arsenal's trying to score right now, but they're not going to. So, oh well.
Brutal. Well, I mean, this isn't going to be as easy as the last round.
No.
They seemingly took a sledgehammer to the biggest club in the world.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'll do my best to stay professional.
Well, I will silently enjoy Arsenal's downfall if this continues.
I know.
If this continues. Big if. A lot of game left.
I know.
This is also a lesson. Kids, game's not over.
My wife
the first 10 minutes of a game.
My wife heard me cheer last week when I was doing the show with you when I was down on Hilton Head.
Uh-huh.
And I was out on the patio where we were staying doing the show. And I cheered loudly when Arsenal went up in that game. And one of her coworkers said, like, what's going on? She's like, oh, no. Like, just welcome to my world. And basically what you just did, because I know, or for those who don't know, Elijah is a Tottenham fan. So is my wife. That's like Carolina Clemson.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of hate towards Arsenal, which is fine. And my wife basically admitted to that person and then later through them to me, yeah, I don't like it when he's happy about that.
Yeah, for me and Mrs. Phillips, it's not been a fun
and
soccer watching seasons. And Haney, too. Haney as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the three of us, it's not been very fun for like the last 5 years.
No. I sent you guys a funny text about a month ago when it was clear that Arsenal was going to finish ahead of Tottenham, and nobody responded.
I wonder why.
So
don't remember getting that text message.
So
crazy.
That. All right, portal transfers into the Gamecock men's basketball program, but it's not a point. Or actually, it's not a transfer portal into the men's program.
A signing.
This is a signee from high school, but we'll get into that for you. There is a big portal pickup for the Gamecock defense in football. We'll discuss that as well. And again, David Cloninger primarily focusing on Gamecock baseball coming up in about 15 or 20 minutes. This is the Tuesday postgame show. Welcome back into the Postgame Show, 18 minutes after 3 o'clock here on a Tuesday afternoon. Do want to remind you about the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. If a Carolina batter hits a Grand Slam, you could win the cash in the pot, which currently stands at $325. Palmetto Citizens adds $25 a game, so it's been a little while. Go to 1075thegame.com to register. Your next chance to win does come tonight. Gamecocks and Charleston Southern, 6:15 airtime here in Columbia and across the Gamecock Radio Network. 6:30 first pitch. Derek and Stewart on the call. We'll talk more baseball coming up in just a little bit. Basketball. Abu Yarma is the newest Gamecock basketball player. He played with Eli Ellis at Moravian Prep up in North Carolina, a 6'7" wing. He's originally from Roanoke, had been committed, Elijah Campbell, to High Point, but has been swayed, I guess, by Eli and by the staff.
And Alan Truss leaving.
Yeah. There's a lot of flexibility in a lot of the guys that Coach Paris has brought in, which I think on the one hand is good in terms of some of the things that he wants to do. And yet I think most fans now are just going, okay, great, cool, versatility, wing player here, and a guy that can shoot there, but where's your true facilitating one? And that hasn't happened yet. And I hate that kind of overshadows what could be some good additions through the portal or through high school, but we saw what Talon Cooper meant to this team. We know what point guards, good, capable college point guards mean to their programs. And last year, you just didn't have that kind of facilitator, and it doesn't appear as of yet, anyway, that you've gotten one this year. And it feels like time is starting to run out.
I think the most kind of maybe discouraging thing is that, like with Jamari, right? Like Jamari's a good basketball player. He's a good scorer. Like he can score the ball really well. But with what Lamont's offense is kind of engineered for is for somebody to be a primary facilitator. Like Talon could score when he needed to, especially when it came down to knocking down big shots late in games, especially from three-point range. He had a little bit of a clutch gene to him, right? But Talon just facilitated the offense. He ran the show really well. Maybe not Jamari's best trait. His best trait is scoring and getting to the free throw line. Like Jamari's really good at that. But it maybe wasn't the best point guard fit. I think Jamari could have gone somewhere else and still put up like good numbers, but that be more, I guess, positively contributing to a winning team for a team that needed a score first point guard. I think the problem right now is you just don't have a point guard that you feel great about starting. Like Eli Ellis could be that. It's just asking a lot for a true freshman, for any true freshman. I mean, even in the one and done era, it's a lot to ask for a true freshman. So if that's going to be his role, okay. It's just a lot on his plate immediately, right off the bat. Like there will be no acclimation period. You'd be the point guard.
Look, I think they're going to get one. You think they're going to get one. And there are still point guards available. And ultimately, one of these young men will be a fit for what Lamont wants to do. How productive they are, we will find out next season. But let's, for the sake of the discussion, real quick, just say they don't go get a one. Does Michi plus Eli provide you with interchangeable abilities to score and facilitate? Well, either one of them, I mean, it feels like both of them are scorers and shooters. But if you're, and you don't, look, we've seen offenses in basketball through the years not necessarily have a true one. Look at some of the best years of the Dubs. Steph is the one, but you wouldn't ever think of Steph in the same vein as you would, say, a John Stockton.
Right, because John Stockton's facilitating the offense off of the dribble.
Right.
Draymond Green did a lot of that for the Warriors, still does do a lot of that for the Warriors. Like Draymond Green's assist numbers are more important than his scoring numbers. He facilitates a lot of the offense, which is one of the reasons why I like Colin Murray-Boyles in the NBA in that type of role. Mm-hmm. And that's why Colin was still able to help you during the season. Like he ran a lot of that offense, and it didn't work for various reasons. I don't think it's not Colin related, but that was kind of where I thought, okay, well, if Jamari is maybe not the ideal facilitator Talon was, then maybe you're going to have to run a lot more of your offense through Colin. They ran a lot of it, maybe not enough at times, it felt like. But even without like a true one, like you said, it can still be done, but you got to be able to have a different type of player do it outside of the construct of what your offense is.
Right.
And I think that's the big if right now, right? Can you find somebody, if you don't get a true point guard who's seasoned in the transfer portal to be your starting point guard day one, how else are you going to get the offense to be facilitated? It's got to come without the original or outside the original framework of the offense. You've got to be willing to adapt at that point to what your roster is, not to maybe what your specified system is that you came here with.
But, again, welcome to South Carolina, Abu Yerma from Moravian Prep. Again, played along with Eli Ellis. So they know each other. There's a nice familiarity. And apparently Eli had been kind of hinting at this, according to what Jack Veltri was reporting. So, again, it's good. Familiarity is good.
Yep.
I like that, but I still want to see this team get a point guard.
Yeah, I do too.
There's that.
Well, given how much better a lot of teams in your league have gotten, you're going to need it.
Yes. SEC was pretty good last year.
Yeah, and even the teams at the bottom of the league, like LSU and Oklahoma, have done a really good job at bringing in some high-level talent. So you got to be able to compete in the arms race here.
Meanwhile, South Carolina gets one of the better players from the Sun Belt Conference to come to Columbia. His name is Troy Pikes. He is a 3-star defensive tackle from Georgia Southern, and at least the offer list is strong in terms of how Carolina got him. Georgia, Ohio State, and Georgia Tech amongst the finalists for his services. So I think that's a pretty good list. He's 6'3", 290 pounds. Played in all 13 games this past season, 13 tackles, a half TFL, and 9 QB pressures. This is somebody they wanted. I think this is somebody, too, Elijah, as we see a lot. You and I have talked about this. There's not always the trading card stats for defensive linemen. A lot of times it's how much space do you eat up, how much attention do you occupy from offensive linemen, how much opportunity do you give your edge guys and your linebackers to get into the offensive backfield. This is the kind of kid, again, if Ohio State and Georgia and a new revamped, re-energized Georgia Tech are looking for you and you're the ones to go get him, and we know Carolina's losing a lot up front. So this is and maybe, honestly, at least in terms of, say, Georgia and Ohio State, maybe the opportunity for playing time at South Carolina is more immediate than at places like that where the talent's probably a little more stacked, regardless of reason. If they wanted you and you got him, good for you. But, I know some has called us before, well, why do y'all say he's so-and-so? He doesn't have a lot of stats. Like, I measure him through stats. You can't always do that. But the PFF grades are pretty good, and people seem to like him.
He's an intriguing player because of how well he can rush the passer on the interior part of defensive line. Like his pass rush grades is 78.8, which is really solid, especially for an interior defensive lineman. That's going to help a lot. There is the one thing this year that he struggled to do, and that was, unfortunately, tackling. His tackle grade is at a 25.9. He missed 33% of his tackles according to PFF. But that's one thing. That's one thing about the evaluation process is if there's something that's teachable and fixable, somebody who at least can get to the quarterback and win off of their blocks is somebody you can work with. So that's the big thing for me is if they can get him in the room, they can maybe teach him some different form, they're able to correct a couple things, maybe fundamentally, then the upside is definitely there because he does win a lot on the line of scrimmage. And you need more guys to be able to win on the line of scrimmage. That was the thing about them last year, too. Like, obviously, it helps to have draft picks like Tonka and TJ on the inside of the defensive line. That's immense talent. But what were they able to do last year that helped them out a lot? Bring guys in to be able to give them a rest, give them a breather, and still win at the line of scrimmage. Yeah. That defensive line won at the line of scrimmage a lot.
Well, you called it a hockey line a lot of times because they had so many bodies, and development of defensive players has been something that this coaching staff, Clayton White and his guys have certainly proven they are doing. Mm-hmm. So to your point about teaching a few things technique-wise to fill those gaps, it's certainly there track record-wise for this Gamecock staff. But Troy Pikes coming in from Georgia Southern, 3-star, again, choosing Carolina over Georgia, Ohio State, and Georgia Tech. All right, we'll switch gears back to Carolina baseball on the other side. Our good friend David Cloninger will join us, reacting to some of the things Coach Maneri told us yesterday here on the station and looking ahead to this week's 4 home games. Can Carolina do anything to begin to salvage something in 2025? And beyond that, starting to look at the future. David joins us when the postgame show returns. Time to talk state of affairs around South Carolina baseball. Welcome back into the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Cale Wilson's hanging out with us this afternoon as well. We turn our attention now to our good friend David Cloninger. He'll be at the ballpark tonight. Gamecocks and Charleston Southern. DC, always good to have you, sir. And the Braves are playing well, too. We'll try to get into that here in just a minute. But in all seriousness first, I think a lot of us were taken aback by a statement that Coach Maneri made yesterday, and I appreciate his honesty. I genuinely do, when he told us that he underestimated the strength of the SEC here in 2025. When you heard that he had said that, what was your reaction? And maybe with a little time to process it, how should others begin to take it?
Well, Jay, it's not the first time he said it. He said it a few other times this year in press conferences, and really verbatim. I underestimated the strength of the SEC. These guys are taller and bigger, stronger maybe than it was when he left. And, the first time he said it was like, oh, did you just think you were just going to show up after 3 years away and pick right up where you left off? So it's not so much that he said it again, but it's one thing, a question will need to be asked toward the end of the season, which will be, okay, well, what would you have done differently? Would you have prepared a little more? Because if the players just aren't to that status, well, I don't know how much that's his fault. That's, stuff, the sins of the administrations and coaching staffs that came before him that gave him the players that he has this year. But otherwise, it'd be like, well, would that have changed your opinion about the job if you'd have known that? What's going on here? It's just not something you want to hear, especially when you're suffering through a miserable season.
I think I've kind of come to the conclusion, David, that this offseason, since the advent of the transfer portal and, illegal usage of NIL, that this is probably the most important offseason that this program has faced since all of that started. We've had all this change in college athletics, especially considering how much different you can make a team from one year to the next. When it comes to just finding a starting spot for this program to address this offseason, what do you think should be the highest on the priority list?
Well, you got to go get pitching, Elijah. I think that the way that they've rotated pitchers, and some of it has been due to injury, but the fact is you've got to go find some top-flight pitching out of the portal, because right now the recruiting class seems to be kind of short on it, and I'm not sure if you want to bring in recruits that might be, high school seniors this year and say, hey, you're going to start on the weekends in the SEC. The fact is that I think fans would have been willing to put up with a little bit more of a build if you saw some signs of progress this season, but you were brought in because the product was stale and saying, like, look, just getting to an NCAA regional isn't enough. We need you to make it better. And instead, you've taken several steps back. So you're not looking at a complete blow up, because there are some pieces that I like on this team, but you're going to have to go get the most important guys, which is that guy on the bump in the middle of the infield.
Talking to David Cloninger of the Post and Courier, Carolina Charleston Southern tonight. Yesterday, Coach also told us that Ethan Petrie may have played his final game for South Carolina. We don't know that as of yet, David, but certainly a life-changing moment is coming Ethan's way soon, later this summer. What more are you hearing about his, A, immediate health status, and B, knowing what we know of Ethan, would it surprise you if we've seen the last of him as a Gamecock?
It would not. The fact is that, knowing how good he is, he's known he's going to be a 3-year guy. And unlike some of the other sports, in baseball, you've really got to go and take the money when you can get it. And if he's going to be first, second round draft pick, man, you don't need to be hanging around here. You need to go ahead and get your money while you can. Because as you well know, Jay, it's not any kind of guarantee that even if you're a first round draft pick, that you're ever going to make it in the show. It's just not the way the game is set up. So especially if you're coming in already nursing an injury, maybe that hurts your stock, maybe it doesn't. But the fact is that, look, man, appreciate you still going out there and playing as hard as you do. You get hurt chasing a fly ball into the wall. That's a baseball play. The fact that he was willing to do that for a team that's, 5-16 in the SEC, that's really impressive. But now it becomes a case of like, man, even if they clear you to play, I don't know if you should. Knowing him, I know that he would want to, but I don't expect him to see him play tonight, nor Nathan Hall for that matter, and I don't expect to see Ethan play this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he ends up playing again. And I know for fans, they at least maybe want to see him in uniform one more time, and I totally understand that. But first-round money is hard to turn down. But looking at the guys that are, filling in, or getting maybe more playing time now with him and Nathan being absent, what do you, I guess, kind of look for to be able to see some signs of building? And because you mentioned the young guys. I mean, I think Bo Hollins is a fantastic player, having a fantastic freshman season. There's a lot in KJ Scobie that this coaching staff likes. How much more do you need to see from maybe those guys to be able to feel good about what can potentially happen in the offseason in terms of just adding stuff around them?
Well, those are the two guys I was going to mention, and specifically with Hollins because he did not have a very good fall, but he came out, he got his chance. He's playing really well this spring. KJ Scobie's a really, really good, solid player that you really want to have on your team next year. So you've got some pieces to build around, or in this day and age, go ahead and lock up for next season. And there's a couple of other pieces out there too, pieces that right now you say, hey, some of you guys are going to get your chance if Hall and Petrie can't go. So just go out there and show us what you can do. And it's that kind of thing when you're playing an actual 5 games that's going to give you what you need to say for this coaching staff to say, hey, we want you around next year. So there's going to be a lot to replace. There's going to be a lot to add, but if you've got some guys to build around and say, those are guys that I want, that I know are going to be in my lineup next year, that's what you got to have. And it's unfortunate that they might get their shot. A couple of them might get their shot tonight because of injury, but that's the nature of the game. It's very, very difficult, even in the majors, to play 162 games without getting the muscle pull. So you just got to go out there and do it, and you just hope for the best for the guys that you're filling in for. I mean, I know, like you said, Elijah, we would all love to see Petrie suit up one more time.
David, yesterday, Mississippi State fired Chris Lemonis. He's obviously got a lot of ties to the state of South Carolina. He won the College World Series just a few years ago, and now he's out of a job because he's missed the playoffs 2 of the last 3 seasons. What does that tell you just about even a different mindset now across the board in the SEC when it comes to winning, regardless of what your resume looks like?
Well, I mean, Jay, it's all about winning, and it's not necessarily what you do for your kids or if you graduate them or if they're good citizens. It's do you win when you're on the field. And the fact is that Chris, kind of came into this year knowing, hey, we've got to do something this year. You're going to be out of a job. Mississippi State baseball is a big, big business. I mean, that's why they've got those condos built up there outside the outfield. That's why they have the presence that they do, and winning a national championship just pushed that further. So I think that he probably should have deserved to stay until the end of the year. But if you knew that it wasn't going to turn out well anyway, you might as well go ahead and get a head start. And that can also give you a head start in the transfer portal. Fact is, Jay, it's not anymore that you can be like, hey, listen, just wait for us this year. We're going to have a great recruiting class next year. It's going to be, if we get enough of a chunk of money together to buy a team for next year, then we can do that. Now, I don't know if the Mississippi State fan base can afford that. Not saying that as a slight. I just don't know the financials. Right. I don't know the financials of their athletic department, what Lemonis' buyout's going to be or that kind of thing. But the fact is that you know that you can get a quick rebuild if a few other pieces fall into place. And if you determine that it's not going to happen under your current coach, well, maybe it is just time to go ahead and cut bait. And that's what they went ahead and did. I feel for Chris, who's a South Carolina guy, born and raised in this state, played at the Citadel, was on that 1990 Citadel CWS team. But fact is, it's like, look, man, it wasn't getting done. And, after that national championship, it was great, but it was also the worst thing that could happen to you because then they're like, awesome, man, you won the first. When are you going to win another one?
Yeah, go do it again. Exactly.
Yeah, certainly. But the one thing you mentioned there, too, is about maybe not knowing what their NIL capabilities are or what they have monetarily to be able to rehaul a roster year in, year out. When it comes to South Carolina, how competitive are they in the space, in the world of baseball, knowing that you are in a conference full of very wealthy athletic departments, very more than willing to invest in baseball? How much do you think South Carolina can contend with some of the teams at the top of the league this offseason?
Well, Elijah, let's just put it like it is. We're a small state. And the school, while the state university, has a relatively small amount of alums, and specifically alums that can contribute major dollars to the university, especially when they're already contributing for football, already contributing for men's basketball. And then you have the revenue share question facing you, which is going to be, okay, how much are you going to get out of this? And then say, okay, how much more can you add to it? So there's always the chance that in just 1 year, the boosters decide to get together and say, all right, man, let's do it. Let's all contribute a whole bunch of money this year. Let's get a team, and that team wins. But then what do you do the next year? That's the problem about NIL. It's not a constant commitment, and you can't just go out like, say, Texas or Texas A&M or Oklahoma and drill an oil well in the backyard. You know, you just can't do that here unless somebody's going to start buying dandelion fluff in mass. You know, we could probably handle that, but it's just not that way. You know, I know people keep saying like, well, hey man, you know, they've got these rich boosters. Hey, like, what about Darla Moore? I'm like, can you name me one time she's contributed a penny to athletics? It hasn't. She contributes to the school, and USC is very, very appreciative of her, but it's not athletics. So until you find somebody that can give more than one major gift, you're just kind of out of luck, and you just got to hope that it's going to be that way where you can keep players, retain them, develop them. But in the age of college sports the way it is now, that's just not going to happen. There's going to be high-priced talent for sale, for better or worse, and you got to go win the bid.
Next time we have you on, we'll ask you, of course, Dawn Staley getting a statue tomorrow. So next time we have you on, we'll ask you where your statue would be placed and what you would be doing in the pose. But we'll save that for another day. Appreciate you as always.
I guarantee you it would have gritted teeth and a pointed finger while watching the Braves on TV. So.
He's David Cloninger, DC P&C to follow on Twitter, postandcourier.com, and make sure you sign up for DC's newsletter. Lots of good stuff in there. Appreciate you. We'll do it again soon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's the Postgame Show. All right, welcome back in. 10 minutes in front of 4 o'clock here on a Tuesday afternoon. Jay and Elijah with you. Thanks to David for joining us. Appreciate the time. Again, DCPNC on Twitter, postandcourier.com. Arsenal down 1-0 at halftime.
Judging by the look on your face, I don't have it on here on my side of the studio. Judging on the look on your face, there was an almost goal for Arsenal.
It was saved.
One that you would consider an expected goal with the fancy numbers.
I'd certainly have liked to see it go in, if that is an expectation. It could have gone in, yeah. Nice save. Nice save. They have their keeper is very good. He's Italy's number one.
Can't wait to see the expected goal differential at the end.
I haven't seen the stat. I haven't seen the halftime stats yet. My team settled in and had a few shots on goal, but they don't count.
They're fortunate to only be down 1-0.
Yeah, there was one other instance where PSG could have had it. Probably, if I was fair on it, I'd say this game should probably be 2-1 instead of 1-0, but I'd still be losing. Well, they'd still be losing. I don't play. Plus, they're across the ocean, so even if I could get there in time. Anyway, we'll see.
You ain't getting there.
Still a half to go. Still 3 halves to go. This is not
technically speaking.
Yeah, there's a long way. I'm trying, but I'm just it's been a while. I don't know, and I'm not trying to go too far ahead of ourselves here. With Chris Lemonis being fired at Mississippi State, it's not more about, hey, will Carolina be doing that? I know some of you have hit us with that. As we have said, we don't do that here unless it's just completely and totally warranted. And I don't know that we're at that point when it comes to Carolina baseball. But, Elijah, to what you were talking about there with David in one of those Q&As, is the budget that South Carolina is going to need. I think what stunned a lot of people around here a year ago, almost a year ago, when Ray Tanner fired Mark Kingston and then hired Coach Maneri, was that you basically, with what Paul makes, you doubled the salary of the head coach. And on top of that, you're paying your associate head coach and your recruiting coordinator, or whatever titles Monty holds these days, more than $500,000. So there's a lot more money just in 2 people for this baseball program inside the last year. And, dare I say, the prices for building the kind of roster that you and David were discussing right there only goes up. If that's job one, what does that look like? That to me will be the most interesting part of the offseason, regardless of anything else, is what kind of budget do you have? And when you couple that with the need to increase the budget for men's basketball, that you will need to stay competitive in the portal with football, I think it's a real fair question to ask what that baseball budget, that roster budget, not anything else, the roster budget.
There's operational budget, and then there's roster budget.
What's that going to look like? I mean, we don't know. I don't know right now, but it's going to probably need to increase significantly. If you were willing to more than double the staff pay, are you going to be willing to more than double the roster pay?
And that's the big thing, like with basketball right now too. Like, even if you increase it, or do you increase it enough? That's the thing with the men's basketball program. Like they have definitely, I have it confirmed and on good authority that they have significantly increased what they were spending in the offseason this year to be able to acquire more talent. Is it enough? Because LSU did the same thing, and they have been able to acquire a lot of talent. That's one example, right? Most schools in the SEC.
Yeah, South Carolina's not doing it in a vacuum.
Right, exactly. Like you have to look at it relative to what everybody you play against on a year-to-year basis also does. So in baseball, teams will be spending more outside of Missouri. Teams will be allocating more funds to the roster than they did the previous year. Can you make it competitive with everybody else? That's the big question to me, because we can talk about certain tweaks, lineup tweaks during the season, all this and that. The foundation is the players and the amount of talent you have and the depth of the talent you have. If you don't have it, it might not matter who the coach is, who the one drawing the lineup card up is. It's not going to matter who, what type of rotation you put out there. It's going to be totally contingent on what you're able to bring in. Is that going to be better than everybody else in the SEC or even in the top third? yet to be seen. But that's one of the parts of it is you're going to have to invest that money in the roster, not just with the coaching staff.
Well, if you expect to reside in the top third of this league, then you better spend like it, right? That's going to be the general consensus. Hour 2 coming up. We'll stay with some baseball themes. Interesting news about Pete Rose we're going to get to. Keep it here. It's 4 o'clock on a Tuesday. Welcome back in. Second hour of the Postgame Show rolling on from the Herndon Chevy Studios, downtown Columbia, South Carolina, alongside Coach Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips.
29 yards.
That's right.
Stat speaks for itself.
Cale Wilson is hanging out with us today in the control room. Swag really cool. And the merch. It's fire.
It's fire. That's what this show is.
You got any more you want to hit while you're over there?
Well, it has to be comedic time.
Do they?
It's got to be.
Elijah's found a new toy for those of you who haven't been with us the last couple of days.
Hates it.
Let the hate flow through you.
No, I don't hate it. I actually like it. I just don't have any control over it. So
it's the best part.
Yeah, I know.
You're at my mercy.
I know that's the.
I hold so much power.
That's the frightening part. It's like I might like to have something like that done. Here's the irony is. You can't tell right now if you're watching on YouTube, but right here in front of me, I have a mirrored screen of everything that Elijah does on our control. Elijah's got like a bank of monitors, and they all actually matter in front of him.
That's why I wear my blue light glasses, because I get headaches when I stare at computers.
Yeah,
for too long.
but in terms of like the on-air monitor, I have one in front of me, but I can't do anything with it. It's just mirrored. So I can look at it, and it basically just mocks me.
The entire time.
It does.
You know where my mouse is? You know what I'm hovering over?
Yeah, it mocks me. And now that Elijah has started to put more sound clips into the system, and I know I have zero control over what's going to happen next. This is what I signed up for, though. I mean, when Elijah came on board as my co-host, I knew full well that a lot of my career would be put into his hands.
Scary thought.
It is. And 98% of the time-ish, it's great. But now with this new toy, again, I'm not going to liken it directly. There's a really creepy episode of the old Alfred Hitchcock show. Without going into great detail.
I'm sure there are a lot of creepy episodes.
They're all, yeah, but there's
show, Alfred Hitchcock.
But there's one with a kid who unwittingly is terrorizing his neighborhood, and he has no idea why everybody's afraid, and that's you. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, so I'm not going to get into the because some of the detail I'm just not going to do on the radio show. But I've seen it, and you're
inspired me to go watch it.
Yeah, I'll tell you more later.
It's a good tease.
You'll see why I don't want to say Anyway. So glad you have that level of control. And Cale, on days when you have to actually take over for Elijah for something like that.
I've taught him how to use it.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, please don't follow.
How about new?
Please don't follow all the examples. A little bit later on, we'll get into that Pete Rose story. Also, Greg McElroy is garnering some attention today, the former Alabama quarterback and now ESPN and SEC Network analyst.
Greg McElroy, the Jet?
No, well, he was for like a minute, right?
He was. He did suit up for the New York Jets. I don't know.
Do you think he still admits that?
Not publicly.
I wouldn't.
No, absolutely not.
You think Joe Namath still admits it as a former Alabama quarterback and New York Jet quarterback?
Well, because he did win a Super Bowl. So he can not just introduce himself as a former Jets quarterback. He can introduce himself as the former Jets quarterback because, I mean, let's be honest with us, with ourselves here. How many Jets quarterbacks do Jets fans think about and are like, yeah, that was fun?
One.
Chad Pennington was fun.
Fun-ish.
The butt fumble for Mark Sanchez was funny.
I say Sanchez
was funny.
Sanchez had a moment or two.
The Sanchez.
Beyond that. What's crazy is like 10 years after Joe Namath, the Jets thought they had found their next Bama great in Richard Todd, and that didn't work out very well. But they thought they had for a little bit. That's back. Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll get into a couple of things in a bigger perspective from college football in just a minute. But I have a question for you. Apparently, the NBA is now very much considering moving the All-Star Game format to America versus the world.
Good, because they don't change the format enough. Relative
to East versus West. So I have a poll question for you as a big NBA fan. There's two selections here. Assuming that happens, USA versus the world, there's choice A, okay, or choice B, get rid of the All-Star Game.
Choice A, without a doubt. All-Star games are fun. I still think they're fun.
Do you?
Yeah. It's like watching a bad scary movie. I'm not watching it expecting a famous Oscar-worthy performance. That's not what I go into it watching. I feel like I'm self-aware enough to watch this and be like, yep, this is going to be a lot of goofing off, a lot of silliness, but it's just pure, unadulterated fun watching dudes dunk basketballs and shoot threes from 40 feet out. Because it's fun whenever it happens.
Arsenal just scored.
Dang.
All right, that's 1-1.
Dang.
I've gotten to a point now where as much as I used to just like wait with great anticipation for an all-star game, not in football, but in baseball or basketball, now
Well, also we have just so much more access to these sports than we've ever had.
I just
in
don't
the
think
history of these sports.
Like there was a time when I kind of like you, I wanted to watch the NBA All-Star game because I used to call it in my own mind the single greatest pickup game on planet Earth every year. Because it was.
It was awesome.
Yeah. And now they just seem like, all right, well, we have to be here. And I feel that way, baseball years ago. Again, when baseball, the look on Bud Selig's face, the tie game, remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
You're like, and that should be a meme, right? For just when he's like looking like, what do we do? What do we do? Like, this is what happens when you basically tell the managers of the teams without telling the managers of the teams to play everybody on the team. Except that in baseball, there's a rule that you can't put guys back into the game once you've taken them out of the game. And so I'm like, now baseball, like you said, access. Guys switching leagues all the time. It's just like
you see everybody a lot more.
I just and again, I've never been a fan of the Pro Bowl, so I'm glad the NFL did. I didn't go watch the skills competition or the flag game or whatever else. But again, why would NFL players want to go play tackle football like that?
What they should do for the NFL is like a pros versus Joes thing, and have a bunch of lucky contest winners get to go out there and line up against them. Because there's nothing funnier than somebody who thinks they can cover an NFL wide receiver, get their ankles broken by a wide receiver. That's funny.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
But it coming back around, NBA internationals versus Americans, that could be fun, I suppose.
I think it could be.
And the thing is, does it get too edgy?
Meaning
too
chippy.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I want.
Yeah. Well, but does the NBA want it to get? I mean, look, some of these dudes are teammates, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, LeBron's not going to play forever, I don't think.
Until proven otherwise.
He might, but I don't
believe it when I see it.
I don't think he's gonna. But you wouldn't want like LeBron and Luka all of a sudden like going at it at the rim in a All-Star game, would you?
Kinda.
Okay. I don't know. I just do away with the All-Star game. I've just gotten to are people watching them as much? I don't know. So I think they just took Arsenal's goal off the board, by the way, if that makes you happy.
It does. Yeah. I'm gleeful.
I think they did. I can't tell what they're doing here. I'm not sure.
They're doing something.
Yeah, they are. And I think, they took it off the board.
All right.
Thanks.
All right.
Yeah, it's not good.
See, I was cool with Arsenal getting far to a point, just so we can have some moments of joy on the air.
Yeah.
But ultimately, someone's going to have to do something and put an end to it.
Apparently, he was offside by about a toenail.
I assume they went to VAR?
Yeah. For way too long. Oh, well. Yeah, but anyway, then I heard that, just heard that this morning, and I was like, all right, what does Elijah think of this if they want to do something like that?
I would love it because the world's getting better. I mean, like the Olympics this past summer
proved it.
Was so much fun to watch. And Serbia should have beaten USA. I know Team USA, that's a loaded roster, but they had them right where they wanted them and couldn't close the deal because the Americans own Olympic basketball. But if you got everybody together, like the best players from that Serbian team, which is Nikola Jokic, or, Victor Wembanyama from France and Luka Doncic from Slovenia, you're able to put together two really evenly matched teams. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from Canada, who's probably going to end up winning the MVP, get him on that squad as well. then you can see maybe a little more pride, a little more of an edginess to it, because all you need is a little edginess to it. I'm not asking for these guys to Bill Lambier each other.
Right.
But I am asking for a little bit of competitive edginess. Like that would be fun. I don't expect it going into any of these, but when you get it, it's a lot of fun. Like the 2020 All-Star Game, with the first year they had, the Elam ending where you reach a certain point of the game and they have the target score. Like, I watched Kyle Lowry take a charge in an NBA All-Star Game. Take a charge. Like, get in front of somebody and take a charge in an NBA All-Star Game so they can get one extra shot at scoring the winning bucket. That was fun. That was fun. People got mad about it online, but I loved it. I ate it up.
How much more does the winning team get in bonus money? Do we know that?
I think they should all just get, like, Bojangles gift cards.
Probably do.
Even though none of them eat Bojangles.
Instead of what they get instead of a Bojangles gift card, the gift card is for an actual Bojangles.
It's for your own franchise.
Yes, they get, that's the prize. They get an actual
Hey, that's how Shaq has continued to keep growing his wealth outside of being on TV. He owns a lot of Taco Bells.
And Papa John's.
And Papa John's,
When they brought him on board, that's what he wanted. He was like, I will get a bunch of franchises. You know who else has a bunch of franchises? Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning has like the most Papa John's franchises in Denver. True story.
Great town to have Papa John's in. If you know, you know.
Yeah, yes, that's a good point.
If I'm going to pick a town in America to have a lot of Papa John's in,
that one.
Denver's high on that list. No pun intended.
Oh, I see what you did there too.
Didn't mean to do that one. It just happened.
Yeah, Portland maybe.
Portland, yeah.
Burlington, Vermont.
And the Coat Factory.
Yeah. Good call.
There are plenty of
Savvy.
places. Anywhere in the state of Washington.
Savvy, yes. All right, we'll come back on the other side. Greg McElroy, the former Bama quarterback, again, current ESPN and SEC network analyst.
Jets legend.
Has put out his top 10 list of returning quarterbacks to college football. Some interesting names, but maybe he's being vilified for an omission. And we will tell you all about it when the postgame show returns. Been waking up lately going, God, I should not feel this stiff. I got to find some way to just feel a little more relaxed. Well, at The Joint, that's their goal. Improve your overall health with affordable, convenient chiropractic care and help you maintain your body and prevent those reoccurring problems. So if you've been bothered by back, neck, shoulder, or joint pain, get back in the game. You never have to worry about appointments. You never have to worry about insurance at The Joint. You can go see them at Harbison Boulevard, Forest Drive in Forest Acres, Roberts Branch off Killian, Northeast, and Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. They're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 7, Saturdays, 10 until 4. If you've never been, for just $29, you can get an initial visit with a consultation, an exam, and a chiropractic adjustment. And they've got centers all across the country if you're traveling for work, sports, vacation, or any other needs. Bob and Janet Keene, been doing it for a long time. They just want you to know this. You don't have to feel bad to feel better at The Joint. 17 minutes after 4 o'clock here on a Tuesday afternoon. Welcome back into the Postgame Show. Jay and Elijah with you. Kale's hanging out with us as well. Gamecock baseball coming your way tonight, about 2 hours from now. 6:15 airtime, 6:30 first pitch, Carolina and Charleston Southern. Jarvis Evans on the hill for the Gamecocks. Greg McElroy has put out his top 10 list of returning college quarterbacks. But there's one omission on here. So I'll read the list, and then you can decide, like, it shouldn't be too hard.
Yeah, finding the omission.
Yeah, shouldn't be too hard.
So
But
this isn't like Where's Waldo, where I have to look and really think about it.
no,
It should jump off the
I don't
page.
think so, but I kind of get why. I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I kind of get why he probably left this person off.
Okay.
You mean to start at 10 and go to 1?
Yes.
Okay. I'll do that. Number 10 on Greg McElroy's list of returning quarterbacks in college football is Haynes King of Georgia Tech, who has also been at Texas A&M. Last year, 2,100-plus yards, 14 scores, only 2 interceptions, 73% completion percentage,
He was good.
and nearly 600 yards on the ground and 11 more scores.
That's where he was at his best,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
So he's number 10. Number 9, DJ Lagway. Now, he's been hurt, didn't go through spring, although we saw that. Did you see the video yesterday of him just throwing, and Florida fans were going nuts like, oh, good, he's back.
Oh, I have not seen that.
Yeah. Listen, I love this kid. I hope he is back, and I hope Florida football is back.
There's a ton of potential there.
Florida football shouldn't be winning 7 games, man.
No.
They should. Well, they should, as long as it is like the end of October.
At that point in the season.
That's when they should have 7 wins, not the end of December.
They shouldn't be trying to hang banners for 8-win seasons.
No,
That's not that program standard.
So DJ Lagway of the Gators, number 9. Sawyer Robertson of Baylor at number 8. Started at Mississippi State, moved over to the Big 12. Last year, more than 3,000 yards, 28 scores, 8 picks. So repeat some of that. Maybe Baylor gets back to where Baylor wants to be.
A guy who's a former top 25 quarterback in the country coming out of high school.
Yeah.
Tapping into some of that potential he showed.
Number 7 on Greg McElroy's list of top 10 returning quarterbacks of college football is Lenoris Sellers. Obviously, around here, we know what Lenoris is all about. Now, yesterday, Lenoris was number 6 in a mock draft on 1, and then another one, you had him at number, not your own, not that you have.
Tankathon.
Yeah, Tankathon had him at number 16. And who else at Carolina, or what other Carolina players?
Jalen Kilgore was at 14 for the Dolphins.
Yeah. Basically, Greg McElroy says, of the guys on the top 10 list, Sellers is the most inexperienced, but he certainly raised his profile considerably last year after the early injury. Really the second half of the season was remarkable. So Lenoris Sellers comes in at number 7. Number 6, Carson Beck. He'll go to Miami this year after a really good run at Georgia. They won the SEC, got into the playoff. He's getting about $4 million to go do what he's doing.
They're paying him a lot of money to be really good.
Yeah.
To be the
they set
country.
Cam Ward up for a lot of success, and there's every reason to believe they're going to set Carson Beck. They are doing. It's good to see Miami getting back to a place. I don't know that they're not all the way back to the Miami of yore. And I'm not sure they ever really get back to that.
Well, because that 2001 team might be the greatest team ever.
It might, and
it's up there with like 19 LSU and
they
insert any team here.
They won the titles in the 80s and 90s too, man. I mean, they were there was a time, but not anymore. But Carson Beck, number 6, number 5, and I thought this guy would be a little higher, to be honest with you. Garrett Nussmeier.
Interesting.
Yeah, last year more than 4,000 yards, 25 scores. Nearly 65% completion percentage. I like to, and I think, now this is just my opinion, and we've seen him in person here in Columbia last year. I think this kid just looks the most like the next level guy that the next level loves.
He's got the arm talent, pocket presence.
He's big, he's strong, makes the throws, all that, but he just has that look. And again, his father is a noted NFL assistant coach. So there's that part of just, knowing what to do, even though his dad doesn't coach him very much, obviously, but you just kind of get some of that.
Growing up in that household.
Yeah, but Garrett Nussmeier, number 5. Drew Aller of Penn State is number 4. Obviously into the semifinals last year. A lot of folks thought that this kid might go ahead and get to the next level. Not sure where he would have gone this year in what was a lowly graded quarterback class.
He's gotten better, though. I mean, I think that there's probably some factoring in how much he could make at Penn State compared to what you would make as like a fourth-round draft pick and not being a starter in the NFL, because I don't know if he'd be a starter.
Well, what would happen if Penn State could just get like a couple of guys? Like, let's take the most recent, say, 5 receiving cores at Ohio State and Alabama, all right? And just give Penn State like 4 of those players. How much better is Penn State? You know, like I feel like that's what they're missing. It's just like the guy that can just stretch the field, break a play, you know, something like that. You know, Bama and Ohio State, and to some degree Georgia, but Bama and Ohio State, and maybe last year Bama didn't have as much of that, but over the last few years, they've just, you know, and Penn State doesn't really seem to have that.
Because Penn State's I thought this year they were better at receiver. They weren't great. Now, it helped to have the Mackey Award-winning tight end, you know, and Tyler Warren.
Right.
That helped out pretty significantly because that guy was doing everything all over the field. I mean, honestly, this past year's Penn State team was like the team. If they were going to make that push into like a championship game, I think this past year was it. I think that was the window.
So Drew Aller comes in at number 4. Sam Leavitt of Arizona State, number 3, another playoff team. Love what this kid's doing. Love what Kenny Dillingham is doing with that program. Will he have some of the weapons again this season? You know, I mean, when you have, even if it's not the guy you're throwing the ball a lot to, when you have a guy like Scadaboo behind you that just takes so much pressure away from you.
Forces defenses to have to load boxes and have advantageous
Makes a big
matchups
difference
on the outside.
You know, good conference, good competition. I like Sam Leavitt. Don't know what his next level really looks like.
Like Sam Leavitt. I don't love Sam Leavitt.
Well, I think
this is the way everybody else loves Sam Leavitt because he's on all these lists, man.
And that's why this is a college ranking. You know, again, I think some fans out there, not you're not, but I think a lot of people say, well, he's not going to play at the next level. I don't know how many of these guys play at the next level.
That's my thing. I don't even care if he plays the next level.
But you know, Greg is trying to look at it, you know, like, I don't know if the Baylor kid's going to play next level or not. I don't know. I don't
probably not.
Yeah, but in the Big 12, he could be really good.
Year, but
you know, I don't know if Haynes King's going to play at the next level. He might. He looks the part. I'll tell you that much. Anyway, Sam Leavitt of Arizona State comes in at number 3. John Mateer of Oklahoma, a surprise maybe for a lot of people to be this high on the list. Transferring in from Washington State, very good last season for the Cougars. His offensive coordinator, Ben Arbuckle, is now the new OC at Oklahoma as Brent Venables tries to find a way to get Oklahoma back to where they're supposed to be, because kind of like Florida, they're not supposed to win 7 games for the whole season. They're supposed to win 7 games by the end of October.
Oklahoma's not supposed to be losing to Navy in bowl games.
No, they're not.
That's how they saw themselves this year.
John Mateer is number 2 on the list. And number 1 on Greg McElroy's list of top returning quarterbacks in the college football is Clemson's Cade Klubnik. Of course, the Tigers won the ACC title, got into the playoff. He's got weapons around him. Clemson returns a lot. And this kid's a dual threat as well. I mean, he made some really nice plays against Carolina when we saw him in person. He's the best quarterback in the ACC. If you look at it by this ranking alone, again, Beck and King that's 3 ACC quarterbacks on this list, Elijah Campbell.
That bodes well for the conference. The ACC will be better next year. I believe that, because even then, I know who the glaring omission is. Yeah. But one omission you can put down there, too, is Kevin Jennings from SMU.
That's fair.
I mean, he turned around their season whenever they made that change at quarterback. I think Preston Stone's a fine QB, but Kevin Jennings made them better. And he has that running ability that kind of separates himself from a lot of other quarterbacks in college football. SMU will still be really good.
Yeah.
And Miami, I don't know if you got better with Carson Beck as your quarterback instead of Cam Ward, because Cam Ward was really good. He's a Heisman finalist for a reason and the number 1 pick in the NFL draft for a reason. But I think Clemson's certainly going to be better because of the continuity. And they actually added some pieces from the transfer portal. Welcome to the 21st century. And they, all around had a lot of good players to begin with. And that receiving core at Clemson's only a year older, and they already have that background with Klubnik. Klubnik, I expect to get better because he got better this past year.
Yeah, he did.
That was my biggest knock on him coming into last year was I don't know how much better he's gotten. in
and we saw
year
Andy
as a starter.
Yeah, and we saw Andy Staples way too early, top 25 post spring yesterday, and he had Clemson number 3. And you and I both agreed, and I think a lot of people do. That seems fair. That seems about right.
And given his list with Notre Dame at 2,
yeah.
I would, if you were, holding a gun to my head and say, give your honest opinion on this right now, is Clemson better than Notre Dame going into the 2025? I'd say yes.
Mm-hmm. Maybe only slightly, but we'll see.
Lost less players.
That's why they go
have
play
some
games.
Continuity on offense, man.
So so all of you now have heard the list, and again, I'll run through it real quick. Cade Klubnik, John Mateer, Sam Levitt, Drew Aller, Garrett Nussmeier, Carson Beck, Lenora Sellers, Sawyer Robertson, DJ Lagway, Haynes King. Who did we not hear, Elijah?
That would be one Archibald Manning. I don't know if Archibald's his real name.
I think it is. I don't know. If not, it doesn't matter. We'll call him that anyway.
It sounds fancy.
Does that surprise you that he was not on this list, above any of these other players especially?
Nope. With the exception of DJ Lagway, what is the one thing that Arch Manning does not have compared to the other 9 on this list?
The experience.
Yeah. A sample size.
Yeah.
Arch Manning did start some games last year, but he started them against teams like Louisiana Monroe, and one of those games was Mississippi State, who was by far, in a way, the worst team in the conference.
Yes.
He still played really well against them, and I don't want to knock him. And he showed that he could be a really good runner as a quarterback at the collegiate level, but there's just not a sample size large enough against high-level competition to suggest that he is a top 10 quarterback right now. Everybody else that puts him on their list, all fine and good, because I see the tools like everybody else does. I see the flashes. I've seen what he can do when he's on the field. But if you want to just have a top 10 list going into 2025 based off of what you've seen through a large sample size throughout the course of a season as the starting quarterback, I think it's totally justifiable to not have Arch Manning on this list.
So there you go. Check it out at on3.com, or just punch up Greg's Twitter feed or On3's Twitter feed if you want to learn more about it. But there you go. So, and again, Lenora Sellers, Cade Klubnik, both on this list. So that'll make for a fun rivalry matchup later on this season. Come back on the other side. Could Pete Rose finally make his way to Cooperstown? We'll discuss when the postgame show returns.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to get to. Well, and by that, I mean no accidents, thankfully. But we do have one report of slow traffic causing a little bit of a backup on I-126 eastbound between Bull Street and Gervais Street. We did have some other reports of heavy traffic on I-26 westbound between exits 108A and 106. That's been cleared up. And we also had one on US 378 eastbound between Mineral Springs Road and North 12th Street. That traffic backup has also cleared. So as of now, just one slow traffic report on I-126 east.
Just going over Greg McElroy's list of top 10 returning quarterbacks into college football. Your thoughts on that? Hit us up on the text line, 803-404-6100. Interesting news came down yesterday. The commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, speaking to the Associated Press Sports Editors Convention, said that he met with President Trump recently, and amongst other things, they discussed around the former national pastime. I guess it's still the national pastime.
I mean, has anything
football
leapfrogged it as an American pastime?
Football, college football.
That's more like the American current time.
Beer drinking.
Now that probably, yes. That's my favorite pastime, at least. But I like to couple that with
TikTok.
Major League Baseball.
Right? TikTok.
Unfortunately.
Facebook.
You on TikTok a lot, Jay?
Oh, yeah.
Do the TikTok dances?
I'm a big TikToker.
Your daughters haven't made you do one yet?
They tried. Not going to lie, man. NGL, as they say on the interwebs. But, no. They wanted me to. Real bad.
Now, my younger sister made my dad do one, and my dad doesn't even have Facebook. Also, because he's so paranoid about his information, he's like, I'm not getting on that. Like, he just refuses. Like, he will never get on social media ever. I'm impressed that he gets onto the internet. Right? Like, he's so like he's like one or two like pegs above like a Luddite, right? But my sister did convince him to do a TikTok dance, and it's the funniest thing because the man has no rhythm. Love to death. Zero rhythm. But it did make for some hilarious content. Yeah,
and I never did. They really tried, I guess, back during the lockdown when we were all at home all the time. But no.
Couldn't get you over the edge to do it.
No, but I applaud their effort.
They can't get you to say this.
Swag really cool. And the merch, it's fire. That's right. It's fire.
You're even taking the R out of it. Look at you.
Don't get me started. I know more, but I'm not going to do it.
You just got to slowly reveal it.
Going to do it. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. No reason to rush. Anyway, Rob Manfred said that a few months ago he and President Trump did speak about several things. One of them was about Pete Rose. Now, President Trump has said he might pardon Pete Rose, although it's unclear exactly what he would pardon him for. There was a tax case. And again, if you don't recall, Pete passed away a few months ago at the age of 83. And Elijah and I were talking about this morning. Pete Rose was not serving a lifetime ban from Major League Baseball. He was serving a permanent ban. So technically speaking, Pete Rose,
still banned,
rest in peace, is still banned from any participation in anything official with the game. And that includes, of course, being able to be voted upon for induction into the Hall of Fame. So the commissioner said, I met with President Trump 2 weeks ago, and one of the topics was Pete Rose, but I'm not going beyond that. Trump, said what he said publicly. I'm not going beyond that in terms of what the back and forth was. That said, the commissioner said that he would begin to think about reinstatement. It doesn't mean that he basically said, I'm not going to give this the pocket veto. I will, in fact, issue a ruling He said that reinstating Pete Rose now is, quote, a little more complicated than it might appear on the outside, and added, I want to get it done promptly as soon as we get the work done. But he says, I will issue a ruling. Of course, Pete was banned for gambling on the game. He insisted through his lifetime, I only bet on the Reds to win. I never bet on anything else. There are a lot of folks who don't necessarily believe that. Not that he maybe bet on the Reds to lose, but was he betting on other stuff? Was he using any inside information as a player, as a manager, to conduct those bets? There are a lot of people who he did business with that say Pete was notorious for all kinds of gambling. So, look, one of the things that I read when Pete died was that there was no way anybody in the commissioner's office, and that includes, his staff plus owners, were ever going to allow Pete Rose to be inducted while he was alive, because they didn't want him to give a speech at Cooperstown, and they didn't know what he would say. And among that, you shamed the game so badly, they didn't want to give him that honor. I don't think there's anybody out there, Elijah Campbell, and I know you're a big Reds fan, and so is your family, that believes Pete should be kept out as a player. As a player, he's the so-called first ballot Hall of Famer for sure. If there was an extra type of first ballot Hall of Famer, he'd be that too, right? He would. But facts are facts. And again, it's a permanent ban. Now that he's gone, what do you think? You think it happens?
Do I think it actually ends up happening? Yes. And normally, for my entire lifetime, I've always thought that Pete Rose was never getting in. But I think because gambling is not just at the forefront of all professional sports now. I mean, goodness, like the Reds play their games on the FanDuel Sports Network.
Right. So do the Braves.
It's
so
not,
do a lot of people.
Like, it's not just that gambling is legal in a lot of areas, sports gambling is in America, but it's also that it's thrown in your face so much. Like if you're watching a Reds game on TV, isn't it just bitterly ironic that you can watch an ad for FanDuel where they give you the player props on a player's odds to hit a home run? Meanwhile, in that same segment, they will talk about Pete Rose and how he's not in the Hall of Fame. Like it's kind of insulting to the fans of the sport to have a player who has the most hits in the history of your game and is one of the greatest players, one of the greatest hitters in the history of your game, won multiple World Series, and gave all the contributions he did to the sport, and keep him out of something like the Hall of Fame for gambling, despite shamelessly promoting the act of gambling at every single turn because you are dying to squeeze every single penny you can out of your own sport.
I think I don't disagree with you. I will say it's kind of like what we've heard from a lot of college sports fans of late. Well, hey, the things that so-and-so got in trouble for a few years back are perfectly legal now. Yes, they are. But they weren't then. And even now, baseball players and managers and whatnot, it didn't like Terry Francona could go, all right, you know what I'm going to do?
I'll start wagering.
I'm going to bet on my boy here to hit a double next inning, and I got plus 800 on that. Let's see what happens.
And I know he's been swinging the bat great, VP, baby.
Yeah, I saw him hit nothing but alley balls out there.
I'm telling him to swing away. He's got the green light for me right now.
So there's that. Now let me read one other thing here. This is again Rob Manfred yesterday. There is and has always been a clear demarcation between what Rob Manfred, ordinary citizen, can do on one hand and what someone who has the privilege to play or work in Major League Baseball can do on the other in respect to gambling. The fact that the law changed and we sell data or sponsorships, which is essentially all we do, I don't think changes that. It's a privilege to play Major League Baseball. As with every privilege, there comes responsibility. One of those is that they not bet on the game. So that goes to the point that you made there. I think now that Pete is gone, I think they're going to lift this ban. Do I then believe that his nomination will immediately see him voted into the Hall of Fame? Or does he have to take that slow burn road that some players take? You know, will the baseball writers then say, okay, or does this? I guess this would be left up. If it's the first time I don't even know, to be honest with you, at this point. Is this a veterans committee thing because it's been so long? He's never been put up.
Yep,
For nomination or for induction. So I don't know if he goes through the first timers club, if you will, with the regular process relative to what, say, Dale Murphy is getting ready to go through, or somebody like that didn't get in the first time around. But I think ultimately, I just think the sport, needs to see Pete Rose, the player, in the Hall of Fame. I've believed that from day one. I believe that today.
Or the sport needs to acknowledge its past. That's one thing with anybody. Like, just because you can bury information about what you've done in the past doesn't mean it's not a part of your story. Same thing with the steroid players. What's the harm of putting them in, but also noting on their plaque or their story that they did these certain things to kind of tarnish their reputation? Yeah.
We'll see where it goes. But no date has been set for this, but I guess soon enough here. Come back on the other side. ACC has made a little bit of news when it comes to next year's basketball season. I don't know if I like this. Let's see what you think when the postgame show returns. Welcome back in. Coming up next hour, top of the 5 headlines. A little bit more on Gamecock baseball. Drive around the SEC. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you here on this Tuesday, as Elijah likes to say.
Tuesday.
That's right.
Tuesdeeee.
And Cale Wilson is hanging out with us too. When are we going to do the next Jay or Nay? I guess I already teased something, so I need to do that now because I forgot to ask you if we were doing Jay or Nay now.
I had it scheduled for 4:45.
But do you want to do it now? Oh, well, we can do it now. I can push this. I can push this ACC thing to later.
We can always push it.
Okay. Well, then let's do that now. We'll make I mean, it's not my show anymore, as we've already proven.
How about no?
I'm just
established.
I'm just some dude at this point. This is Elijah's world, and we're all just living in it.
That's right. That's how I prefer it.
Yeah.
But we're going to force you back you into a corner for playing Jay or Nay.
Okay.
Today's edition,
Yep.
NBA and college baseball.
Okay.
Which one do you want to start with? There's only one college baseball one, so if you want to start with that.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Okay.
The Texas Longhorns, currently 19-2 in SEC play.
Yep.
The 2013 Vanderbilt Commodores have an all-time league best record of 26-3.
Man.
The take that we are either Jaying or naying is that Texas will tie or beat that this year.
I'm going to say nay.
Gonna say nay?
Yeah, I'm going to say they get to where Carolina was when Carolina was 25-5.
Okay. Who else? I haven't on schedule in front of me, but I know they still got 3 series left, meaning they would have to sweep at least 2 of them.
Yeah, I mean, if you go 7-2, you tie it.
Yeah.
Right? So they are playing really well, but just because it's so hard, maybe the pressure gets to them. But if they win 2 of 3 each weekend, then they'll almost get it. So I'll say nay. I'll say nay by a nose.
They are knocking on the door. Yeah. Good baseball team.
They are.
All right. Jay or nay? The Warriors' trade for Jimmy Butler turned out to be the most impactful for the 2025 postseason. In terms of trades happening, which obviously there was one that made a lot of news.
Yeah, but it hadn't made a difference this year.
Nope.
Or in the postseason. I'll go Jay on that.
Scored 27 big ones last night.
I'll go Jay on that.
Steph didn't even shoot the ball real well.
I think
they still won.
I think they have an opportunity to do some things that people didn't expect, say, turn of the calendar. So, yeah.
I thought they were done.
Yeah, I'll go Jay.
I thought they were cooked.
Yeah.
Defensively, they're playing great right now.
Now, I don't know if Jimmy Butler should be a dub at the beginning of next season, but whatever happens through the rest of this run, sure.
Certainly feels like they're title contenders right now.
Yeah, I think so.
But sticking with another team in that scenario, not that series, but a team that made a big splash, my beloved Los Angeles Lakers, they are cooked. Jay or nay?
Yeah, they're cooked, Jay. Yeah, they're down 3-1. The team they're playing is better than them. They play a better brand of basketball. The Lakers the other night, I saw the extended highlights. I don't know what J.J. Redick was thinking in not making substitution.
The entire second half.
I don't think I've ever heard of that. Again, I wouldn't do that in November.
That's the first time since they've been tracking like these minutes and that type of data, which I think since like 1996. First time that's ever happened.
I can't. That baffled me. I mean, is that how little faith you have in your bench?
The bench isn't very good.
No, but I mean, but still, you just got to give somebody a spell, man, even for like one little segment of something. But you know, that's so no, they're done. It's too bad. It's too bad because they've got 2 of the biggest stars on the planet, and they're the Lakers, but they're done.
And I don't love the response after the game where he goes, well, I just told them that, if you guys need, you need a minute or so on the bench, let me know. They're not going to take themselves out of the game.
You're the coach. You make the call. Yeah, you take them out.
Kind of your job.
Yeah, it's your, yes.
All right. And lastly, it's of the best interest for both Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks to move on from each other.
Jay, absolutely is, man. It's time to get out of there. Giannis has done everything he can for that market. I mean, he's won the MVP. He's won the championship. He's represented them very well at international level, All-Star games. Time to move. You've done your part. This is a lot like when Kareem left Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Time to move on.
And if you're Milwaukee, look, you build yourself a little bit of a window, and you ruined it when you traded Drew Holiday to try to get Damian Lillard. and you can't guard the chairs we're sitting in right now as a team. Only one player. It was Giannis, the only guy that was playing any defense on that team.
Time to move on.
And they traded like draft capital, like real tangible draft picks that you could use that could really help your team right now to get Kyle Kuzma.
Well,
who's been an absolute no-show in the playoffs.
I don't know what his contract status is like. I know he makes tons and tons of money, but so do a lot of dudes in the NBA. So what can you get for him? That's the thing for
a lot.
Truck Stop Jimmy to figure out.
Yeah, you can get a lot. But was Truck Stop Jimmy want to trade a star, given his history as an owner in pro sports?
Yeah. His history ain't real good.
No, it's not.
That was fun. How'd I do?
Time will tell.
All right. We'll see. Headlines of the day, more around the Gamecocks, drive around the SEC, all coming up in the final hour of the postgame show.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell reporting some traffic to you. No accidents, at least so far today, so that's a plus. We do have some slow traffic reported on I-126 eastbound between Bull Street and Gervais Street. We also have some heavy traffic on I-26 westbound between Bush River Road, exit 108A, and St. Andrews Road, exit 106. Also have some heavy traffic. Again, doesn't appear to be accident-related on US 378 eastbound between Mineral Springs Road and North 12th Street.
It is 5 o'clock news time here on a Tuesday. Alongside Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. Appreciate you being with us. Let's jump right in. Gamecock football gets a big pickup today as South Carolina announced that Georgia Southern defensive tackle transfer Troy Pikes is coming into the Gamecock program. He's chosen the Gamecocks over Georgia, Ohio State, and Georgia Tech, amongst others. He has 3 years of eligibility left, but showed some flashes this season. 6'3", 290-pounder, played 13 games for Southern, had 13 tackles, just 1 half tackle for loss. His PFF grade of 67.9 is solid, not great. And he had 9 quarterback pressures. Elijah, you were also doing some digging into young Mr. Pikes, and does have to learn how to tackle a little bit better, which obviously matters. But in terms of what South Carolina has done developmentally with a lot of guys in the middle of the defensive line the last couple of seasons, reason to believe that will occur. But this
Certainly.
is somebody who emerged and made a name for himself and wanted to hit the next level, and he's chosen the Gamecock. This is a good get because, you lost a lot of guys. Lost a lot of guys in the middle.
Ton of production.
Yeah, so you need to
NFL-like production.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. So you need to fill it back up.
You got to be able to supplement yourself with a little bit of depth, and I think he helps you in that regard. And look, he is a couple of tweaks away from being what I would be considering a really good SEC player. Anybody that grades as high as a pass rusher on the interior is going to be a very valuable commodity. You work maybe some of the tackling quirks or shortcomings out of them, then you can really discover a pretty solid player.
Thank you, Kale. And just getting this breaking news, Cam Scott is returning to South Carolina basketball. Didn't have that on the bingo card as we do a news segment here. Did you?
I did not. Now, as we were coming back from break, Kale was telling me, he goes, wait, Cam Scott coming back coming back to South Carolina.
Our good friend Jack Veltri reporting that he will indeed be back. All right. Yeah, I mean, this is a good thing. If listen, clearly this is happening because both sides have agreed to it, yes?
Absolutely.
Now,
I don't think he comes back if the coaching staff is.
Yeah, no, you know what? What I mean is they've had conversations, obviously now on multiple levels and at multiple times, because there was a conversation at the end of the year where Cam said, "All right, peace out." Now there's a conversation of, "Okay, I want to come back," and I think they want him back, but will he do the things? And in the short term, the answer is going to be yes. Clearly, they've had that conversation. But one of the things that we heard a lot about was the defensive want to.
I would say just shortcomings.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just not a want to.
Had a hard time staying in front of people last year.
And if you can't necessarily fix that, Elijah Campbell, then how do you coach around it? Because I think there are ways to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There are some people that are just better at it than others.
Especially schematically. You can find a way to maybe hide players on defense.
Thank you.
That aren't ever going to be confused with being Tony Allen.
So that's big news. Well, you know what? We're going to come back around to this in our 5:15 Gamecock segment. But Cam Scott back. How many minutes per game did he play last year? Can you find that out for me? I don't need that now. I don't need that now, but let's look at that. In the meantime, basketball news. Thank you, Cale. Good job, by the way. There you go. See, Cale's
learning on the job.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Learning on the job.
There you go. You make your mama proud. The Gamecocks have gotten Abu Yarmah from Moravian Prep in North Carolina, same high school that Eli Ellis went to. He becomes the third player, actually, from Moravian, joining Eli and Hayden Asimian into the Gamecock program. He is a 6'7" wing. He's originally from Roanoke, had been committed to High Point, but now the latest Gamecock, well, almost the latest edition. I guess that's Cam
the
Scott
second
now.
most latest edition. I guess you can call Cam a re-edition.
Yeah. Another wing, another guy that's going to have some versatility. I suppose at 6'7", you're not going to put him down on the block, especially if he is a legit 175 pounds in the Southeastern Conference. But at least a guy with some height, so you can move him through. You like this?
Solid. Yeah. I don't know how much he's going to play.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of playing time right away.
Considering the older players that have similar build and will play similar positions. I mean, one thing I do like about what Lamont's done is I do like adding bigger wings. This team's going to be bigger out on the perimeter than last season. And I think that helps. That makes you more switchable. Even though switching on defense isn't necessarily one of Lamont's favorite things to do, he prefers to not have to switch. But you have the ability to do so. Maybe positions 1 through 3 right now. Maybe not 1. I don't know. I need to watch Eli Ellis play defense a little bit, assuming he might be one of the starters as a point guard. But you have some switchability. You have some versatility on positions, 3, 3, and 4. So, I mean, I think he's in a kind of a loaded class of player archetype. I don't want to necessarily pigeonhole them to position because basketball is so positionless, but he is of similar player archetype to a lot of the players that have been picked up in the transfer portal this offseason. So I don't know if it's necessarily a great get for the 2025-2026 season, but for the 26-27, 27-28, yeah, hope so.
And clearly there's something that Lamont likes about what these kids are doing at Moravian Prep.
Mm-hmm.
That fits what he likes.
Certainly.
So there's that. In addition to the familiarity that these players may have with one another. Again, more on Carolina basketball now that we have the breaking Cam Scott news coming up in just a bit. Continuing our integrated media headlines of the day, the Atlanta Braves came from behind to win last night 6-3 in Denver. The Rockies are not good. Atlanta.
They stink.
Yeah, they do. Atlanta, who still has a losing record at 13-15, has won 8 of their last 10. The Braves are coming around tonight. A.J. Smith-Shawver will pitch for the Braves. He's 0-2 with a 4.61. And Herman Marquez will go for the Rockies. Elijah, I'm going to use an industry term here for his numbers. He's 0-4 with a 9.30.
Is that bad?
Yeah. You're giving up a run an inning, man.
It's disgusting. That's nasty work.
That's not good.
In other words, he is a starting pitcher for the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah, so go Braves in that one. 8:40 first pitch tonight from Denver. San Francisco 49ers made a big move, signing George Kittle through the 2029 season, one of the best tight ends in the league. He's got a deal worth $76.4 million. $40 million of that is guaranteed. The cap hit would be $22 million. So that's a little less than I don't even do the cap stuff. I don't whatever.
It's a good way to make your head hurt.
I can't stand it. I have no idea. He's 31 years old though. This is a lot of that's $40 million guaranteed to a 31-year-old tight end.
Not just any tight end. It's not like he's Jimmy Graham out there who is allergic to blocking other defensive players, but he is not just a willing blocker. One of the best blocking tight ends the league's seen in a long time. Kyle Shanahan loves to use him at times as a glorified left tackle or a right tackle. He can kind of piece them together anywhere. So he plays a very physical position at 31. We'll see. He had a solid year this past year.
Right.
But good to keep him around. because of the familiarity with the offense. And I know Kyle Shanahan likes to be versatile with him.
I think, look, they'll certainly, they've done things to replace Deebo Samuel in San Francisco, but I think the familiarity as they just signed Brock Purdy to this big new deal, Brock's going to need to feel comfortable because there's a lot more pressure on him now. So I think doing this, continuity, stability within the offense, familiarity within the offense, plus I didn't realize this, how much, did other teams not do this? It says here in this wire service report, even if the extension doesn't guarantee that he wears the uniform his entire career, it says it undoubtedly gives Kittle a strong chance to reach a more short-term goal, joining the 49ers 10-year club, a club that honors players who have played at least 10 consecutive seasons and includes 51 players since the team's inception in 1946. They haven't added anyone since tackle Joe Staley in 2017. Is it like the Five Timers Club on SNL? You get a nice robe and they have a club you can go to. Like Joe Montana comes and says, like, what's up, man? You have a cigar and a little.
I hope so. I hope they do something like that for him because that'd be a great goal to reach.
Yeah. And I suppose out that way, instead of like, any kind of, liquors or spirits, it's just like nice Napa Valley wines, a nice Stag's Leap Cabernet or something in the lounge.
Or maybe they give him his own Papa John's franchise in a place where it would thrive very well.
Or his own winery. Or
in a place where it would thrive very well.
There's both out that way.
It
That's
thrives
the beauty.
very well.
That's the beauty of the Bay Area. You've got your high-end, Silicon Valley types that can, just pour $100 bottles down the drain if they don't like it. And then you've got your college types.
That's just maybe a little hungrier than normal at 1 a.m.
It's been that way a while out there.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
For a long time.
Congratulations, George Kittle. Congratulations.
Help my boy George out.
Staying out that way, the Pac-12. Yes, it's still technically a thing.
Kind of. This is the Pac-12 in mummified form.
The Pac-12 has finalized a TV deal for next season with the CW, ESPN, and CBS. They'll combine to show the 13 home games of Oregon State and Washington State. ESPN will have Cal at Oregon State in August, Houston at Oregon State in September, and on we go. Did not include any details about the 2026 season when Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, Utah State, and San Diego State will join the conference. They still have to add one more for next year to hit the minimum NCAA requirements. They will do that. And I'm glad they're keeping the name Elijah Campbell. I am. Not the name Elijah Campbell. I'm glad they're keeping the name Pac-12.
I mean, I would let them use my name for their conference.
And that's another thing, because
they really wanted to. I'd be cool with it.
This conference has been in its iterations, the Pacific 8, the Pacific 10, and the Pacific 12. If they're only going to have 8, should they go back to the Pacific 8?
They should, yes. Well, let's start normalizing having conference names that are accurate to the number of members.
I'm here for that.
Because,
that's why I'm glad the SEC doesn't include any numbers.
Yes. The Big Ten having 18 teams is disgusting.
Yes.
Now, and I might be open. I think conference expansion has been a plague to the sport. But if you do expand, do it for 2 more teams, and then you can make yourself the Big Ten times 2.
Yeah. Oh.
And then you can just add that little tidbit in there, and then it's finally, for the first time in decades, accurate.
CBS, by the way, will have the Apple Cup. That's Washington State. And see what they did there. They they played the rivalry games. Oklahoma schools looking at you.
That's all you got to do.
Looking at you.
That's all you got to do.
Again, pick up the phone. Hey, want to play? Yeah, cool. See you then. It's that easy. It really, really is that easy. That's our integrated media headlines of the day, 803-948-8327 for all your home theater needs and so much more. Call our good friends at Integrated Media. Again, big Gamecock basketball news breaking in the last little bit here, and we'll get you more of that when the postgame show returns. All right, welcome back in. Post-game show.
Oh, my God.
You're a monster.
What's going on here?
Post-game show. Why have I been doing that more lately? It's because when I get going like that, it's just the one that's more ingrained, man.
This is a load of barnacles.
Unbelievable.
Welcome back to the post-game show on the game.
What am I, chopped liver over here?
He's Elijah, the coach.
Man,
You forgot to say it.
29 yards.
There it is.
Per play. Sorry, just heartbroken.
I know.
Not mad, just
disappointed.
Yeah, which is the
Well, I
worst
didn't
thing.
say it though. I didn't say. I said, 16 years, man. 16 years. That's like 3,000 and something times that I did that show. And how many times did I say the name of that show?
A lot.
Like 10 times a day. That's like
Which is like the grace period for
I don't know.
for the false starts here.
I know. It's just part of who we are. Sorry, and that means you. Every once in a while, I'm going to say it.
This is the second. This is back-to-back days. Happens again tomorrow.
If there was a financial penalty, would it be better?
Going to make you put your nose in the corner and just stand there for a segment.
Sorry.
And I'll turn that camera around too, so everybody watching can see you put your nose in the corner.
Well, you can see.
I'll give you the same punishment I used to get as a kid.
Those of you looking
Nose
right
in the
now,
corner.
I'm wearing my Arsenal jersey today, which is already bad enough because Arsenal lost. It's a red jersey for those that don't know what Arsenal's main color is, and my face is probably about that red. So thank you for shaming me even further, Elijah Campbell,
I'll do
as
it
I
again.
almost said the name of my old show, which does still air on this very station just earlier in the day, and I'm not there anymore to oversee it. Somebody
You do
else.
appear on it now. I
do.
I can give some leeway that you do.
I do.
Occasionally appear on it. By occasionally, I mean every day at the last segment.
Well, sometimes you play the role, which is good.
Yeah, sometimes I slide in.
Yeah. Sometimes I just can't make it here on time. Just can't get it together.
It's a long drive.
And you
so
know
I
the
don't
good
blame
the good news is when I can't get it together and get here on time, Tyler never says anything to make me feel bad about how close I live to the station. So that's good.
you. Oh, Terry will.
Tyler never says it. No, actually, Terry never does. It's Tyler just, he's like, well, at least you didn't have to go very far. And he says it in that Tyler way.
It pierces harder.
It
that
does,
way.
man. It does. He just gives me that look. Anyway, thank you. Appreciate it there, Nick. Okay, breaking news. Cam Scott of Lexington, who played for the Gamecock men's basketball team last season, sparingly, of course, but was certainly a much heralded recruit as a local, especially. Would have been, no matter where he was from, he would have been a big-time get.
Highly
Industry term.
valued.
Entered the transfer portal on April the 1st, and now, after 4 weeks of looking around, has decided to return to South Carolina men's basketball.
Turns out that might have been an April Fool's joke after all, and committed to the bit for 29 days.
Yeah, for 29 days.
I respect that.
We were talking again, we just didn't have time to get into it in the news segment, but more time to discuss it here. Look, first off, if this is what everybody wants, this is great. There's number one. And so, yeah, I said somewhat in jest, like, everybody's talked. And I think that for Lamont, look, he's the coach. It's his program. I suppose, Elijah, and we'll probably get more on this in the coming days from both parties, the coach and the player, that they've had conversations about what it is that needs to be done for him to get on the floor more, to get better. Because you and I talked about this a bunch. Hey, even last season, and I'll say it again here. All right, so there's perhaps a defensive deficiency. Maybe he's just not as good at defending. Maybe he's never really been asked to defend at the high level that Lamont demands, because you talk about it a bunch. Defending in this system, not just for this coach, but for this system, is a non-negotiable. That's the term you've used. So
Yep.
I'll let you go
That
from
is
there.
one of his, yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you go from there in terms of, as you alluded to a few minutes ago, maybe trying to mask that in some way.
Because I talked about earlier how Lamont he's been vocal about this the last couple of years, about just his defensive philosophy. He doesn't like to switch, right? He doesn't like to, if there's a ball screen, to have to be able to switch, because normally that's the negative side to switching. If you don't have the personnel to do so, then you can get mismatch hunted pretty easily, right? That's basically, if you watch an NBA playoff game tonight, most ball screens that are used on offense is done to get a desired result for a mismatch. Like when you watch the Lakers and T-Wolves play, Anthony Edwards is going to get that ball at the top of the key, and whoever is being guarded by Luka Doncic is going to be put in a ball screen, or Austin Reeves is going to be put in a ball screen, so they have to switch and have to guard Anthony Edwards. That's where a mismatch happens. One of the reasons why a coach like Lamont Paris doesn't want to do that as much, because he wants everybody to be able to fight over screens and to not just be able to mismatch hunt for an entire game. That's always been his thing. And if you watch these teams the last couple of years, defensively, they've been really good. And this past year, they were really good because they don't have to switch. You can't just mismatch hunt with South Carolina. One thing that teams would do if Cam's in the lineup, they're going to try to get that mismatch, because that's not his strength, right? Cam is a very gifted scorer. He's very gifted off the bounce, and he's great in the open floor. And when I watched him in high school and got to evaluate him a little bit, whether it be playing in high school games for Lexington or with Team United in the AAU circuit, he was great in the open floor and great at slashing, at putting the ball on the floor, getting it on the deck, and being able to get to the rim. And he didn't get to do that offensively as much. So when you couple that with his role in the offense not being what his strength was necessarily in high school, and maybe being not as up to par defensively, or not being up to par defensively, coupling those two together kind of ended resulting in what we saw this year of him only getting on the floor for an average of 10 minutes of the game when he got into the game, right? There were a lot of DNP coaches' decisions on those game logs.
So let me ask it to you this way then, to play devil's advocate on behalf of Cam and his position. Again, conversations are two-way streets in this kind of situation. So if we talk about Lamont wanting to take some of these skills but maybe cover up the defensive deficiencies, if that's the right way to put it, then what's Cam Scott looking for when he talks to Lamont? Hey, this is what I do well, and I do want to be here with you. There's a reason I want to do this, but what are you going to do for me? So what is, let's put you in the role of Lamont talking to Cam Scott right now. Okay, I'm with you. You do have strengths, and you do have things we need to focus on. What does that part of this equation look like?
I think that might involve highlighting him in the offense. I don't love using the term highlighting them in the offense, because it makes it feel like you're completely gearing what you do towards one player. But maybe putting him as the ball handler in ball screen actions more. Saying, okay, we're not going to keep you in the corner, or we're not just going to run you off screens. We can make you as a primary playmaker, because as we have discussed on the show, they have not found that point guard. I'm not saying Cam's going to run point, but if Cam can play make out of a ball screen, maybe putting him in more of those maybe allows him to help you out on offense in a way where you need someone to help you out on that side of the floor. Whereas defensively, look at the type of guys that they've picked up in the portal. Shariamps from Utah, 6'7", long. Kadich from San Diego, 6'7". Kobe Knox has really good size on him. Those are guys that are switchable at their positions, right, and can maybe provide a little more help defensively if Cam's on the floor with those guys. Not saying that they're going to start switching everything, but that can give you in lineups where you're maybe allowing to either switch if Cam's guarding a ball screen, or they're long enough to fight over those screens to where if someone's trying to mismatch hunt, they can fight over them and maybe not get that specifically. And maybe can be really good help defenders. If you feel like you've surrounded yourself with a lot of really good help defenders, you can have one player out of four maybe not be as great of an on-ball defender and still be able to use him offensively. And that's where the sweet spot with Cam Scott's going to be, right? And Cam can still develop into a really good defensive player. I don't think it's not that he doesn't want to. There's two different types of bad defenders, and I call them the Jabari Parkers and the Zach LaVines. And I say this because when they were on the same team in Chicago, it was very well documented how atrocious they were defensively, both players. But there's a difference between those two players. Zach LaVine fought hard to get over screens. He fought hard to stay in front of the ball. He just didn't have the technique or the ability to do so. Mm-hmm. He's still not a great defender, but he has improved in that part of his game. Jabari Parker straight up didn't care. Jabari Parker would rather walk into oncoming traffic than have to guard Dave Adair, right? Like that was the separator between the two. And I remember reading
Captain Dave is wily.
Captain Dave's got a mean crossover, and I get it, right? I wouldn't want my ankles broken either, but that's part of the game of basketball. You're going to get dunked on.
He's quick, not fast.
It's sneaky athleticism. You're going to get dunked on. You're going to get crossed up, but that's just basketball. But there were clips, I remember in an Athletic article kind of highlighting, showing the two examples. Like Zach LaVine just didn't understand certain concepts of team defense. And sometimes it just takes playing at a high level to be able to learn those concepts and play within a team organization to be able to be in the right spot and help defense, to be able to be at the right spot when a player catches the ball. That way, when they put the ball on the deck, you're able to stay in front of them. There's little things you can teach somebody to make them a better defender. But Jabari Parker just straight up wouldn't move sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think with Cam, at least, there is that desire to want to be a better defender.
So, again, the big news breaking in the last little bit, Cam Scott will return to Carolina basketball. We'll get into that and more in the Drive Around the SEC. That's next.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to get to you. And by accidents, I just mean stop-and-go traffic and reports of heavy traffic in certain areas, starting with some stop-and-go traffic on I-20 westbound between I-26 exit 64 and Bush River Road near exit 63. Slow traffic reported on I-126 eastbound between Bull Street and Gervais Street. That's been an issue all afternoon. And some heavy traffic on I-26 westbound between exit 108A and 106, and on US 378 eastbound between Mineral Springs Road and North 12th Street.
It is Drive Around the SEC time on this Tuesday. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. Cale Wilson's hanging out with us as well this afternoon. Gamecock baseball coming your way in just a little bit. 6:15 airtime across the network, including right here on 107.5 in Columbia. 6:30 first pitch, Gamecocks and Charleston Southern. I'll have more details on that one coming up for you in just a little bit. And I can remind you real fast, too, that you might win some money tonight. You never know. But Grand Slam giveaway brought to you by Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. Go to 1075thegame.com to register, because that's the only way you can win. Got to be registered to win. But
That's how these things work.
if somebody hits a Grand Slam tonight and you're registered and we draw your name, then you'll win $325. And you don't have to do anything other than go to the website and type a few letters in.
That'll do, Donkey. That'll do.
Thank you, Shrek.
Sounds great. That will do. That's an easy way to win
Hey, it's
300 plus bucks.
I mean, that'll get you. That's a nice night or two out.
That can be one really, really nice
Yeah,
night out if you play your
absolutely.
cards right.
Yeah, do it right. Drive around the SEC time for you here. We'll start with Florida football. DJ Lagway has resumed practice. He did not really do much in spring ball. He posted videos of himself late yesterday making throws at a training facility in Ponte Vedra. That's down there near Jacksonville. Brock Purdy, Anthony Richardson, Jordan Travis, Gardner Minshew amongst those that have worked at this facility in days gone by. And again, Greg McElroy of the SEC Network and ESPN has DJ Lagway as his number 9 returning quarterback in all of college football this coming season. As DJ goes, so go the Florida Gators?
Yep. That's because, I mean, I think they've improved the surrounding cast there. I don't know if it's enough to make or break or make the team if, DJ Lagway does not perform well. It's obviously a vitally important position. But I like what Lagway's got with the tools. And last year, towards the end of last year, he played great, especially in that Ole Miss game.
He did.
They don't upset Ole Miss if DJ Lagway isn't showing the promise that he's got and what made him a highly touted recruit.
I like him. So it's good. And again, it's not like I'm going like, yay, go Gators. It's not that. But, football's better when teams like that are better. It's better for the environment. It's better for – it's kind of like I know this is almost heresy amongst Bronco fans, but – like, football's better when the Raiders are better.
Yeah.
Because it gives you something, Like, it's sad that a whole generation doesn't really see the Raiders as any – and the Dolphins. Like, I sound like old dude now, right? But when I was growing up, like, the Dolphins and the Raiders, that's who you measured yourself against a lot. Them and the Steelers, And now there's, like, again, you like, right now, the two of you sitting in that room, you're like, Jay, don't tell me the Dolphins are ever any good.
I mean,
don't tell me the Raiders are ever any good.
Like one of my best friends on the planet, lifelong Raiders fan. His dad was a Raiders fan, so his dad got to live through the glory days of when a lot of people
winning Super Bowls.
Yeah,
plural.
A lot of people became Raiders fans.
Yes,
right around the time his dad was being a Raiders fan. Me and him are the exact same age, born maybe only like a month or two apart.
Yep.
He is barely old enough to remember his favorite team playing in a Super Bowl and not getting remotely close since.
No, and again, I don't know how they got into that one.
Because Rich Gannon decided to take a sip from the fountain of youth and have a season that he never had at any point in his career.
Oh, and the rest of the American Football Conference went,
Yeah, whatever.
That's what happened, I think. It's just a whole year of, sure. Go ahead, Raiders.
Football, whatever.
Yeah, why not?
Rich Gannon was the MVP.
And again, the Bears did it how many years later? The whole NFC just went
4 years.
Yeah, they were like, sure.
Just demolished the Saints in that NFC Championship game.
Sure. Go ahead, Bears.
It snowed a lot.
Staying with our drive around the SEC, former Texas forward Jamie Vinson will stay in state and transfer to Texas A&M. He is from Texas, is young Mr. Vinson. Big kid, Elijah Campbell, 6'11", 225, was a four-star recruit. Played in only 9 games, though, this past season for UT. But according to what I have read here, and you may know more, fits in with the new coaching staff at Texas A&M, Bucky McMillan, Bucky Ball.
You got to have a lot of dudes that are willing to line shift in that system.
Just get up and down the floor.
Full court press all game, shoot a lot of threes, high tempo basketball.
Sounds fun.
Texas A&M, for the first time in a long time, will be fun to watch. The teams the last couple of years have been good.
They've been good, but
they're not aesthetically pleasing.
No, Buzz Williams basketball is not. It's rock fight-ish.
Yeah, Buzz Williams' teams beat you by hitting you over the head with a bag of hammers for 40 minutes.
That's why I like that Buzz has gone to UMD, but I don't know that UMD fans are going to love that because they like to see you score. They like games in the 80s, and Buzz would rather have a game in the 80s as long as that's the combined score.
That's his type of basketball. That's what gets his motor running.
Yeah, I mean,
low-scoring basketball game.
He and Tony Bennett, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like Tony Bennett didn't want a game getting out of the 50s.
Tony Bennett wanted you to dribble the air out of the ball.
Right. Baseball tonight in the Southeastern Conference. So we have one game already underway. The Kentucky Wildcats, WKU just tied it up. Just a second ago, I was looking at it. It was 3-0. Now we are in the bottom of the 5th at WKU in beautiful Bowling Green, Kentucky. 3-3, bottom 5.
Hate to admit, that's a gorgeous campus.
Never been, but I've heard that.
Gorgeous. There's a reason they call them the Hilltoppers. That entire campus sits on a hill, and there's some gorgeous scenery out there.
I've told you before, the only thing that knew of when I was a kid for WKU, I believe it was they were the last home opponent for the late, great Coach Frank McGuire. And they brought their mascot. Like, usually mascots don't usually come to road games. But I think this was a big deal for, like, a Hall of Fame coach. And all I remember is he looked like a red grimace.
He is a red grimace. Yeah. That's all he is. And, like, that's obviously, MTSU's rival school. Yeah. The 100 miles of hate rivalry, because it's exactly 100 miles from Murfreesboro to Bowling Green.
Okay.
And so, hate him. But I can't hate him too much. My cousin was a kicker there, and from, 2006 to 2009. So he played there.
That's cool.
And they have the best mascot in college sports.
Yeah, he's a big red grimace.
He's hilarious.
I thought that was great when I was a kid. I was like, I don't know who that guy is, but I like that guy.
Moves his belly around all the time. Yeah. He's funny. It's funny. It's hilarious.
Yeah, because I was like 9 or 10 when that happened. I was like, I
want to hate Big Red, but I can't. I can't find it within me to hate Big Red. I can't at all.
More baseball tonight. Tennessee hosting Northern Kentucky. Where's Northern Kentucky?
That's in the north part of Kentucky.
Thank you, sir. That's what I would have said too. Vandy hosting Indiana State. Texas A&M hosting Lamar. Mississippi State hosting Memphis. Missouri at Kansas. Kansas has 35 wins in the Big 12, or 15 in the Big 12 with 35 overall.
Kansas, good for them. Baseball school? Baseball school?
What's going on at Kansas? Like, basketball falls, football and baseball rise. What are we doing?
The only common denominator here is the presence of one Hunter Dickinson. I'm not here to say anything. I'm just pointing something out.
Georgia will host Kennesaw State. Auburn travels to Samford. Austin
Portland Finnegans.
Austin P, the Governors, will be at Ole Miss. Is it Southeastern Louisiana, I guess? SLU?
SELA?
It just says SLU.
That might be, yeah.
I don't know. They're at LSU. That's
that
fun.
Makes sense. Lake Charles.
Prairie View at Texas. Wichita State at Oklahoma. And Arkansas traveling up the road to Springfield to take on Missouri State. That's all your baseball action tonight. And once again, Carolina and Charleston Southern coming up in 45 minutes or so. Have a little cut from Paul Maneri on the other side, and I will get back to a story I mentioned earlier about something the ACC is doing that I don't like.
Telling on themselves.
And I will tell you why I don't like it when the postgame show returns. All right, welcome back in. Final few minutes of the postgame show here on this Tuesday. Gamecock baseball coming your way in just a little bit. South Carolina hosting Charleston Southern Jarvis Evans on the hill for the Gamecocks tonight. Junior lefty is 3-2 with a 6.23, 38 strikeouts, 12 walks. Brad Gridlinger, a right-handed freshman, no record. Oh my, he's barely. Man, they're just kind of sacrificing this kid. 2 and 2/3 innings pitched, Elijah Campbell.
Ooh, in his career.
6 walks, 2 strikeouts. His ERA is 20.25.
Good luck, kid.
I imagine he won't be out there very long. Not because he's going to get rocked, but they imagine that's just an opener.
Yeah, it sounds like a bullpen game to me.
They did just take 2 of 3 from PC this weekend in conference play.
The Blue Hose.
Yep. So, and they say, it's Bark in the Park tonight.
Which means I can go to the game and bark?
If you want to. I don't think that's what they mean.
Oh, well, if that's the case.
There's got to be a better way to say that.
But take your furry friend or friends to the ballpark.
If someone has a dog they can let me use, let me know.
It says presented by CVets. Those people do good work. We had to take one of ours over there one time, and they were phenomenal. I hope you never need to take your dog to CVets, but if you do, they are fantastic. I think there's 2 of them here in town.
Perfect.
But, one time we had a little scare, and they were great. So there's that. 6:30 tonight. Doors already open. So, again, bring the dog, have some fun.
Yeah.
Just don't let them drink.
Or do.
It's up to you. I don't think dogs should have beer.
But if you do, then you're driving.
At least CVets will be there if you can get them.
Or if your dog can drive, then your dog can be the DD.
Or like Toons is the driving cat. You ever see that on the old Saturday Night Live back in the 90s? Oh, it's great stuff, man. Toons says, look out. Those of you who have seen it know what I'm talking about. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Nick's seen it.
So the Atlantic Coast Conference will be meeting next month on a host of issues. One of them will be a question of whether or not they should take the number of conference men's basketball games they play, currently at 20, and move it down to 18. They say they would do this in the hopes that their schools could schedule what they say are more marquee non-conference games. This in an I guess effort to elevate the ACC's status. Last year they only got 4 schools into the tournament. I know Clemson lost on day 1. Duke obviously advanced pretty far. Who else? Louisville made it.
Louisville made it. That went and done in Chapel Hill.
And Chapel Hill, who barely got in. But that counts.
They shouldn't have been in. They got in. They got in. They won a game.
I don't like this. I like more conference games. Now, I realize at this point in time that the ACC feels its conference isn't strong enough. Well, listen, that's for one thing. When you have,
telling on yourself,
137 schools in your conference, and you are kind of ratting yourself out there. No, but in all seriousness, I am such a big proponent of more conference games because that's, especially now with these leagues literally being so big. Would every school take advantage of 2 more holes in the schedule and fill them with quality matchups? And it just assumes that somebody else out there wants to play you. Now, some schools won't shy away from it, and some schools will. And then it's the same thing with a potential opponent, Elijah Campbell. A North Carolina, a Duke. Duke's always looking to get marquee game, but they like to play those games at Madison Square Garden or over in Chicago or something like that.
They played Illinois at MSG.
Yeah,
earlier this year.
But not everybody is going to go out and find that. And if you don't, then what? And I'm just going to throw out a hypothetical, but what if you're Wake Forest and now you have 2 holes to fill and you're all right, you're going to try to play Tennessee? You're going to try to play
You have to find other
South Carolina, and does South Carolina want to play Wake Forest? And all of a sudden, maybe Wake Forest is ended up with, Elon. I don't know. So you're right. They're kind of ratting themselves out. I'd stay with this. Stay with 20. Just go do what the Southeastern Conference has done. Reinvest. This should be the best basketball league in the country.
Yep.
It should be.
It has been for a long time.
Generationally speaking, right? Multiple generations. And right now, for whatever reasons, it's lost its way. And it's lost its way primarily around these parts to the Southeastern Conference. Why did the SEC get better? It invested in better coaching, better staffs. Now you can pay the players. Do that. You know, I mean, it's time for Virginia to get back to being Virginia. It's time for Syracuse to get back to being Syracuse.
Mm-hmm.
Louisville is resurging under Pat Kelsey. Do more of that. Look at, I mean, I don't mean this in a bad way, Clemson fans, so don't take it the wrong way. But if Clemson is looked at as the second best team in your conference, that's on you, conference.
Mm-hmm.
That's on you. Like, I like what Brad has done. All right? I am not dogging Clemson when I say that. Good for you, Clemson.
There's just too many schools in that conference with histories of being really good and the resources to be really good, and they just haven't done it.
But Wake and State and UVA and Syracuse and Louisville, y'all are Georgia Tech even to some degree, you know, back in the old Crimmins days. FSU under Leonard for a lot of years was really strong. Jim Larinaga had Miami really strong. You know? So, again, Duke is Duke, but find a way. But stay at 20.
This just tells me, too, I think they regret some of their expansion because I think they've gotten some negative feedback from coaches about travel.
Yeah, probably so. But make your conference better and make those marquee games. Don't go hunting for one that you might not get. Cale, good to see you. Appreciate you being around here with us. And we'll do it all again tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Go Arsenal next week.